Are you needing anything else, sir? The waiter sets down a steaming cup of tea on an outside table. Bert gives a slight wave. No, thank you. That will be all. The waiter nods and walks back through the tables and patrons of the Relief Tea Shop. The clanks and scrapes of utensils on plates enjoying pastries are background noise to the conversations being had. Bert sits alone, wearing a patterned robe of lilacs and a dark leather belt. He takes in the sounds around him. He picks up the cup and brings it to his lips, and a loud clink rings out as some hot tea spills onto his lap. Damn. He forgot about his helmet. It projects the way his face used to look before acquiring his blinding scars. He starts to wonder if he has grown too comfortable with it on. He shouldn't hide behind a false image. It is what it is. That's life. An elf in a light leather vest, carrying a book and a bowl of soup, wanders by looking for a place to sit. He spots an empty table next to Bert's and sits down. He opens it up and starts to read and looks up when he takes a spoonful of broth and potato. He looks at Bert for a second and smiles. Bert continues to slowly clean the spill, and the elf leans towards him and says, first time drinking, eh? Bert continues and says, no. Right. He takes another spoonful of soup. So, why are you sitting alone? Bert leans back in his chair and tilts his head toward him. Because it is usually a very peaceful way to spend some time. Oh, you like quiet sometimes. Most times. Oh, okay. Okay. I don't like it as much. Do you mind if I sit with you? We could be lunch buddies. Bert turns his head away to catch the last bit of conversation regarding a halfling and dwarf talking about the coalition. Some game of merry fornicating murder. He tilts his head back over to the soup bowl clanging on his table as the elf scoots in. By the way, my name is Dreamlight. He reaches out his hand. Bert reaches out and shakes it. Dreamlight. Is that name chosen? The elf laughs. By my mother, yes. She was a dream circle druid, so, you know. Some people make a feature about themselves, their whole personality. And that bothers you? No, not at all. We are who we are, and we all deserve to be loved. What if you're a terrible person? Oh, I believe hate is taught. Curiosity and getting to know people, I think, is a more natural mindset, but at some point as we mature, I think you choose to continue that hate. There is always opportunity to change if you look for it or truly want it. Bert nods and agrees, and then turns. And, what is your name? Bert sighs. My name is Vincent. Vincent Rentemere. Dreamlight makes a face. All right, that's a fancy name. I like it. Can I call you Vince? Absolutely not. Only my nanny back in Renmar calls me that. Fair enough, Vincent. Since we are lunch buddies, why don't you tell me something about yourself? Bert sits up a little and crosses his legs. Well, I work for the post. I deliver from Piedborn and travel to surrounding towns for letters and small shipments. Dreamlight takes another bite of soup and wipes his mouth with a napkin. Wow. It always seemed like a pretty boring job to me. Seeing the same places over and over again. Do you venture out much to other lands? Bert shakes his head. No, I try to stay local. Merchant vessels usually take things to Gold Post and Jarton. I've never stepped foot on a boat. Really? I love the sea, Dreamlight says. I like to fish in my off time. I'm a bit of a traveler. I do a lot of designing work. I've been in and around Piedborn, and, I'm not sure I've ever seen someone like you working post. Bert laughs. Trust me. You would never know when I am around unless I want you to. Dreamlight lets out a loud laugh. You made that sound terrifying. His knee hits the table and Bert's teacup starts to topple over, but Bert reaches out and catches it. Oh, good reflexes, Vincent. Bert slides the cup towards the middle of the table. Oh, sorting mail. They sit quietly for a moment as they both take in the sounds of the crowded streets and chirps from birds. Well, I'm about to head out. I have a couple trade shows I am piggybacking, so maybe I will get some more soup. One of these days, while I'm still here, maybe I'll see you around? Bert sits quietly and a small smile crosses his lips. Maybe. If I want you to. Dreamlight smiles back. Oh, crap. Thanks, That's embarrassing. How long have I had this piece of basil on my face? Why didn't you say something? Bert internally panics a little. I thought you were saving it. Dreamlight grabs his book and stands. Yeah, I lied about the basil. Hope to see you around, Mr. Reynolds. And he walks away. Bert sits in shock, and after sitting for what felt like 5 minutes, he laughs to himself. He listens to make sure Dreamlight's footsteps actually leave, and removes his helmet and drinks his cold tea. He puts his helmet back on as the waiter comes over and grabs the empty bowl of soup. Was there anything else I can get for you? Bert puts some gold on the table for a tip and turns toward him. I would like to make a reservation for this table around the same time next week. Oh, we don't usually do reservations. It never really gets that busy. Bert takes out a small bag of gold. Oh, but we can figure out a way to ensure the table is free. How many? Bert hands over the gold. 2. I have a lunch buddy. The halls of Hagworts are bustling as students leave their last class for the day. Before dinner, they can explore the castle or get consultation from teachers, getting extra use in the training fields or classrooms. Juten Marsh walks down the hall stuffing parchments into his pack when another student, Fritz, runs up and greets him.
Juten! Man, did you see the news about the Inland Row riot?
Juten's eyes light up.
Of course. I'm telling you, this is the year for their Zubeldorf team. When Armin as an advancement starter, I think we will make it to the Z finals.
A voice echoes out around the halls. Juten Marsh, please come to the Hagworts visitor desk. Your father is here. Fritz pats his shoulder.
I will see you after gym class, and we can go over this season's schedule.
Sounds good. Juten waves by and makes his way to the visitor's desk. As he turns a corner in the main hall, he sees his father in glittering dark gray robes. He's usually in the office most of the day as a consultant in Ravenshield, so showing up at school is quite strange. Son? Father? How was your school day going?
Fine. I was just chatting with Fritz about Inland Row.
His father chuckles. Well, I have some connections. What do you say I try and get some tickets this year? Juten smiles wide.
That'd be amazing. Is that why you're here?
No, actually. I have a gift for you. I had a budget meeting with the head of Tech Inc. He asked about you and remembered you were quite the fan of the Vizier twins. Juten looked shocked. The Vizier twins were his favorite adventuring pair. They were fast up-and-coming heroes, both wizards, one specializing in illusion and another specializing in conjuration. These twins were once thought to be the future of adventuring until an accident in a mine killed both of them. Juten was a self-proclaimed biggest fan, so much so he got his nose busted by Scop for claiming the coalition wasn't on their level. His father reaches into his robes and pulls out a small rectangular box and says, Here. Apparently he's quite the collector of rare treasures. He has multiple trophy cases filled with artifacts. He wanted you to have this one. Juten takes it, and with hands shaking in anticipation, he opens the lid. Inside is a beautiful birchwood wand. He takes it out and turns it over in his hand, setting the box down. Whoa. He inspects the bottom of the wand and can see the notch he read about. With the right amount of pressure there is a small pop, and the wand slides apart across a vertical split, down the entire wand, separating it into 2 pieces. It's the twin wands. 2 for 1. Just like them. His father smiles. I thought you would like it. Like it? I absolutely love it. This is incredible. I was excited to give it to you, so I decided to hurry over so you can see. Now, put it back in the box and I'll take it home for you. Juten's face drops. Please, Father, can I keep it with me today? I gotta show Fritz. His father looks at the clerk at the visitor counter. What is your policy on outside wands? The clerk smiles at him and says, Outside wands are welcome as long as they pass a rigorous test from one of our elders. He nods. If it passes, you can have it for the day. Juten smiles. A few minutes later, Elder Fidget walks up to the desk.
Hey, how can I help you?
The clerk hands over the wand to Elder Fidget, and he holds it up with his mage hands. What is this for? The clerk nods their head and takes the wand back. The wand is fine. Juten smiles and claps his hands in excitement. His father looks puzzled. How do you know? The clerk gestures to Fidget. Elder Fidget was cursed on a quest. Any trap or hazard he comes into contact with, unless built by his own hands, automatically springs. Elder Fidget stares at the clerk. You never call me down here to chat, do you? The clerk responds without looking. If I told you why I called you down, you wouldn't come.
Fidget looks at Juten and his father and scrunches up his face. That is true. And he turns and walks back towards his class. Juten's father gives him a pat on his shoulder and says goodbye, leaving to head back to work. Juten takes the wand and holds it in his robes. He runs down the south corridor looking at doors. They are all sealed with sigils showing they are in use. He finds one without the glowing symbol and walks in. These practice rooms are not very wide, but quite long, etched with healing wards for spell practice. Juten takes out the wand and gives it a few waves. He can't believe what he is holding. He casts dancing lights and they spark around the room. But he quickly turns his head behind him and looks at the sealed door. Hello? There is no answer. He turns back slowly and casts Create Water, then freezes it. He stops again and turns. Who's there? He jumps as he is startled by a voice in his head. His eyes dart around trying to find the source, but after a moment he calms and controls his breathing. He lifts the wand and looks at it. Oh. Hello. Scott peers over the shoulder of Tessa Mayfair, one of the Necromancer for Science historians. They can see Vanilla, Rolf, and Melry move their horses to the side of the road. Tessa pulls gently on the reins as their steed moves aside from a carriage full of ice cream. Scott is excited to be out on a mission. Geralt had called him into his office before he left for the Lake of Elders to have him tag along with the NFS to get a little more information about Candy Cane Forest, more than a town. While he has gotten training from Tessa mostly, Vanilla has also helped in his development. Scott looks around and sees the path open up to more dead trees, but the town seems to be quite busy. There was a short line at a vendor, seeming to sell candy and black licorice, something so gross even necromancers wouldn't touch it. They move past a stable and make their way down to the town, passing by the blacksmith. Near the mine, a large cart full of saplings is being emptied. Starts of trees are being handed down to a group of people, taking them over holes dug along the tree line. There is a heavy construction being undertaken with some new homes and buildings getting framed. Vanilla speaks to a bystander who points him over to one of the older and larger homes. They continue past the mine and dismount. Tying their horses to a post outside of the building, Vanilla lowers his hood and looks to his group. Apparently Rutherford is inside. He hasn't been feeling well, so be cautious and Scott, stay back in the doorway. I don't want you catching something. Scott nods and they make their way inside. Vanilla opens the door and steps in to hear coughing coming from a room towards the back of the house. Rutherford, I'm Vanilla. I'm here on behalf of Geralt Embersoul with some colleagues of mine. Scott smiles. Colleague. That's a nice change from student. Scott hangs back as the NFS moves further into the home. They round a hallway and Scott can hear quiet talking. Tessa peeks out and waves him over, signaling that he should still stand behind them. As he rounds the hallway, Scott can see a large fireplace and padded chair. Rutherford has his feet in a large container with steam coming out of it. A blanket is wrapped around his shoulders as he shivers and coughs again. Vanilla was crouched a few feet away from him. The sun is out, Rutherford. What are you doing? Rutherford looks at him. I am freezing. Ever since we started renovation, I have come down with something. I just can't get warm. Rolf chuckles and mutters. Nice way to get out of work. Melry elbows him to be quiet. Tessa steps forward. We were told something strange was found in the mine. We are hoping to investigate. Rutherford sneezes loudly. If you are here on Geralt's orders, then you are more than welcome to enter the mine. Just be cautious. He said it's built on top of something that could be dangerous. Vanilla stands. Can do. Thank you for your time. Try to get some rest. The NFS makes their way out of the house. Melry asks, what do you think is wrong with him? Vanilla leads them toward the mine. Seems strange if it is a sickness. No one else seems to be affected. Think there is something more there. Maybe we will find answers inside. They enter and make their way into the cold. They pass some torchlight and workers scooping ice cream off the walls. Scott's eyes go wide. I've never seen anything like this. Tessa laughs. And you will never again. Candy Cane Forest is a cocktail of magical anomalies, the only one of its kind. Vanilla stops. It is faint, but I can feel it. I think this is probably the best place. They brush away some ice crystals and see a large sheet of solid ice filling a large crack in the ground. Vanilla looks at Scott. Would you do the honors? Place your hands near the ground. Focus on turning off your senses. Don't touch. But close your eyes. Clear your mind. Feel mind disappear from this moment and fade into the ether. Scott follows instructions, and in a minute he feels himself shut down and feel alone. But there is another slight presence there. I found it. Tessa's voice is a soft whisper as it reaches Scott.
Good. Now feel that magic, that life force in you stretch out like a web of a spider. Feel it expand in your chest. Keep focusing that feeling outward like tentacles reaching out of the sea skyward. Try to connect that energy to that presence. Let it breathe life into it. Give it the power to speak.
Scott focuses and makes the connection. He gives a sigh of relief. Hello. The NFS watch curiously. Who are you? Scott sits in silence for a moment. Tell me about yourself. About your death. Another few moments pass and Scott stands up. Vanilla looks at him and nods his head. Tell us. Scott looks around and shivers a little. He was a prince of the Three Peaks. He and his father were slaughtered by an ambush from Knights of Winterhelm. The giants from their brotherhood scattered, but many loyal followers returned to give them proper burial. Apparently the landscape was changed, so they decided not to bury in the mountains in case a landslide disturbed them. He was buried with his belongings as per tradition, but if you are from a royal bloodline, as added security, the belongings were cursed. Vanilla looks at his NFS members and starts to move toward the exit, calling behind him, Rutherford. They make their way back to Rutherford's home and walk inside. Vanilla stands in front of him and puts a hand on his shoulder. Rutherford, we have reason to believe you were cursed. That is probably why you don't feel so good. Did you interact with anything inside the mine? Rutherford coughs hard and a glob of mucus flies onto his arm. Yes. I was given gold. It was found in the mine by the Coalition. Tessa steps into the room. What did you do with that gold? It helped pay for some of the town's renovations with it. Rolf leans over to Scott. We've got a lot of work ahead of us. Vanilla takes out a piece of parchment. Rutherford, I'm going to need the names of everyone you paid with this gold. We will be sending a letter to the Coalition. I know of a couple witches who specialize in removing curses. Scott looks up to Rolf. Coalition is cursed? Rolf nods and shrugs. Trust me, kid. If anyone is going to make it out of a curse okay, it's them. It's the less seasoned adventurers that will pay the price. The sound of industry echoes through the workstations of Tech Inc. as Alistair walks by the enchantment tables that fill a corner of the facility. His lackeys behind him read him sales reports and R&D trial success percentages. We have perfected the arrowheads you wanted. We are sitting at 100% success rate, so our focus is now on Connor. Alistair turns. We are trying to save lives and change the world. With this, we can stop putting innocents in the claws of abominations out there. We can create better hunters to purge the shadows of shady organizations. We will finally reach the peak of the mountain that Malbus Smartledore built. Spend your time bringing me results. The group of researchers nod silently as Alistair goes into a locked side room. He walks toward a fountain of sparks spraying off of a table. Behind them, a masked worker shaves down a curved piece of steel, and he looks at Alistair, who looks down at the pieces that have been constructed. How's it coming along? The worker picks up a few pieces and interlocks them together. He holds a handle with both hands and raises it up to his eye line as he stares down at a target. It's going to make one hell of a boom. And he pulls the trigger.